Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lord of the Rings LCG Progression Series. In this video we'll be going over the lore of the quest Passage through Mirkwood and also quest strategy, the challenges that you face and mechanics of the quest. I'll be doing one of these videos which will serve as an introduction to each quest, since in my main gameplay videos I don't talk much about the lore of the quests, or I don't go into strategy as much often since I am playing quickly, so this will be more of a look at deck building to defeat the challenges of the quest, and I'll go over any mechanics that a quest may present which are not explained well in my gameplay videos, and this hopefully will provide entertainment and or help newer players who are not familiar with the game or not familiar with mechanics of different quests to understand more about it. So, for this quest, this is the first quest in the game. You are traveling through Mirkwood Forest carrying an urgent message from King Thranduil to the Lady Galadriel of Lorien. As you move along the dark trail, the spiders gather around you. So let's take a look at a map of Middle-earth. For anyone who's not familiar with the lore or only has a passing knowledge, or maybe you've only seen the movies, this is a map of Middle-earth. It's zoomed in quite a bit. Mirkwood is here. The Shire is here, over on the left side. In the book The Hobbit, Bilbo and his company traveled along this road. Well, I think they were off in the hills sometimes too, but they went to Rivendell and then they went through the Old Forest and then to Lake Town. At Erebor, the Lonely Mountain, they got into a variety of adventures along the way. I'll not spoil it. But the King Thranduil from this quest refers to the realm of the Wood Elves, which is in Mirkwood Forest. And it is right along the river, because Bilbo and his company in The Hobbit took the river out of the forest to the lake in barrels. If you've seen the movie, the Hobbit movies, which I didn't think were very good, but there was an attempt to put that journey on film. So I'm not super knowledgeable about Tolkien lore. I will doubtless get things wrong in these videos, and I will doubtless mispronounce many things. The point of this is to give the players a picture in your head of where exactly on the map that we are at this point in the game, in the life of the game. So going from King Thranduil's realm to Lorien means traveling from this area in the north of Mirkwood down the Old Forest Road, I assume, and then Lorien is down here. Lorien was visited by Frodo and the Fellowship of the Ring after they came through Moria. They traveled to Rivendell, and then they traveled south to Moria after failing to cross over the mountains due to bad weather. After traveling through Moria, then they rested in Lorien for a time. So we're traveling from Thranduil's realm down to Lorien. That's the lore of this quest. The nastiest things they saw were the cobwebs, dark, dense cobwebs, with threads extraordinarily thick, often stretched from tree to tree or tangled in the lower branches on either side of them. There were none stretched across the path, but whether because some magic kept it clear, or for what other reason they could not guess. That's from The Hobbit. As you move through Mirkwood, hounded by spiders, the forest path forks before you. Unsure of what lies ahead, but spurred by the urgency of your message, you choose a path and proceed. At this point, you choose one of two stage 3s chosen randomly. You can either get a chosen path number 1. They both say the same thing. The trail winds into one of the darkest, most tangled parts of the forest. You sense that a foul, dark presence is hunting you, and you move quickly in an attempt to avoid its evil. You can either get Don't Lose the Path, the shadows grow darker, and you realize that a foul presence is aiming to draw you from the path. You must defeat it to pass this way. Or you can get Bjorn's Path. You attempt to follow a secret hidden trail to avoid the enemy. So this is a reference to Gandalf's instructions in The Hobbit when he had to part from the hobbits, which was about at this point here on the map. See if I can get a bigger cursor. Right there, roughly. Gandalf departed from the hobbits. I forget what he was doing at that point in the book. He may have been going to investigate Dol Guldur down here in the south, but he instructed them not to leave the path. So that is what the quest is referencing, don't leave the path. And Bjorn's Path refers to the character Bjorn. From the Hobbit book, Bjorn was a shapeshifter who aided the hobbits after they had encountered some orcs, I believe, and he gave them shelter for the night, and he gave them ponies in order to help them on their way to Mirkwood in this area. So Bjorn's Path would refer to the character Bjorn, who was I don't know that he specifically had knowledge of Mirkwood, I can't remember, but the game is assuming that he does. So strategy for this quest. This is the first quest in the game, and you start with a forest spider and an old forest road. Now, old forest road is an example, a very rare example of a location that has a benefit for the player when you travel there. I would say 90% plus of the locations that you will encounter in this game, if you're new to the game and don't know, 90% of the locations you're going to encounter have a negative effect if you travel there. This does not. It has a positive effect. Old Forest Road refers to the name of the road that goes through the forest. The Forest Spider 2214, this is what starts against you. So the limitation that you face in deck building, twofold. Number one, if you don't want to get threat in the first turn, you need to have enough willpower on your champions to overcome the two cards that you start with in the staging area, whatever card may come in the first round, and you need to have enough willpower to do this while having a hero available to defend against an attack, and preferably to attack back, although you'll get some help on that from Old Forest Road because you'll be able to ready up a champion when you move there. For Phase 1 and Phase 2, the only challenge in Phase 1 and Phase 2 really is this opening wall. If you've designed a deck where you can handle not taking on any threat, you're likely going to be engaging this Forest Spider first round, because 25 threat, and when you only have access to the core cards, you're very rarely going to be making a deck with heroes that total less than 25 threat. So if you're likely going to be running Aragorn. You might quest round 1 and then use him to attack the Forest Spider, or if you're running Eowyn, you could use her to quest and then you'll have one hero available to defend and one to attack the Forest Spider or something like that, or maybe you'll use an ally to defend round 1 and then attack the Forest Spider. But once that challenge is done for Phase 1 and Phase 2, there's really no additional challenge. It's straightforward. There's nothing mechanically speaking that could happen. You can get unlucky. There are ways you can get unlucky. A variety of big cards could come out. Some of these deal damage to characters. Not a variety of big cards, but there's a Hummer Horns, which is a big deal, which will deal 5 damage to a hero if it engages you, and that's likely going to kill one of your heroes. Typically the way you deal with that challenge is you play Gandalf and you leave the Hummer Horns in the staging area until you can play Gandalf and kill it. But other than that, Ungoliant Spawn is the other big threat. If that comes early in the game, that can really mess up your deck. It's not too big a deal if it's a shadow card, although it can be inconvenient and it can mean you take on more enemies than you want to, because if you've got a Dol Guldur Beastmaster that's 35 threat or 35 engagement cost, and you can typically leave that alone until you're ready to deal with it. But if you get an Ungoliant Spawn as a shadow card, you can end up having to engage it before you're ready. Or something like Chieftain Ufthak. So not much challenge in Phase 1 and Phase 2. In my experience, difficulty-wise, this quest can be beaten by 3 out of the 4 decks that come with the core set. The Leadership, Lore deck, or Spirit deck can all beat this quest without any alterations. I had trouble with it with the Tactics deck. When I first got the game, I remember I had trouble with the Tactics deck without any alterations. Once you get to Phase 3, you're going to get one of these 2 paths. If you get 3B, you have to search the encounter deck and discard pile for 1 spider, and you have to defeat the boss Ungoliant Spawn. And typically, when you search the deck for a spider, you're going to want to pull the Ungoliant Spawn out of the deck so that you don't have to comb through the encounter deck trying to find it. You do have to defeat the spider regardless of if you've already defeated it or not. So if you get that path, you pull the spider out of the deck. And one note is that you add it to the staging area. For any players who are new to the game and don't know, if you add something to the staging area, you don't have to trigger the when revealed effect. Add and reveal are different. If this card said reveal it and add it to the staging area, you would have to trigger the when revealed effect. But since it just says add it to the staging area, you can add Ungoliant Spawn without having to trigger the when revealed effect, if that matters. Which likely it wouldn't even matter. So, from a deck building perspective, you just need to build something with some attack and some defense, or some chump blockers to deal with Ungoliant Spawn likely. Because I don't think there's a way that you can block 5 attack completely at this point in the game, although I could be wrong. For Bjorn's path, you can't defeat the stage if Ungoliant Spawn is in play, but if it's in the deck, you just make 10 progress, and that's all you need to do. So in terms of strategy, the main challenge of this quest in solo play is just dealing with the forest spider on turn 1. And typically the way you'll do that is questing with 2 heroes, then readying 1 up with Old Forest Road, and using one of them to defend the attack and one of them to attack. Usually that's going to be Aragorn doing the attacking, and he'll deal 2 damage. And then you deal with the spider on turn 2, although you can also take the attack undefended for 3 on Aragorn turn 1, and then use Aragorn and another hero to destroy the forest spider. And that's really all there is to this quest. Once you get over the initial wall, there's no other mechanics or anything to think about other than playing your cards and battling. So that is the lore and the strategy for Passage Through Mirkwood. And I hope if you're a newer player that you enjoy the game, because I do quite a bit. Thanks for watching.